Okay, I took three main things from this testing today. I thought Verstappen was the man when he did 134, but today Lando Norris did 149 laps. The car looked fantastic, slightly slower than Leclerc. McLaren was slightly slower than Leclerc, Norris, but only by 0.2 seconds, and he was on he was on a harder compound than Leclerc, so I think his car was faster. He actually had a full load of gas or petrol or whatever you guys call it, and harder tires, and was only slightly behind Leclerc's time, got a lot more mileage. So the McLaren car, just like the Red Bull yesterday, looks to be very reliable. It looked like it was handling well. Coming into corner 10, these cars are known to step out from under the driver because of the nimble and the torque, but it seemed like he had the car in control. Unfortunately, Stella and Zach Brown were smiling, so that's not a good sign. When Stella's smiling and Rob Marshall is smiling, that's not a good sign. It means the car is looking good. The second story is that Mercedes is having problems, motherfucker. I think they finally got 70 laps earlier today, but earlier they had a problem with a fuse or a wire going short. And to me, that's a sign that car is overheating. And those are the rumors. We talked about that yesterday, Kunle. That car is overheating. My guess is that Mercedes has their car tightly wrapped with the engine to get as much power as possible. And if they're really using that compression thing, which requires it to have a high ratio when the car is warm rather than cold, that car will have a tendency to try to push for heat. And we know that traditionally, Mercedes has problem with overheating. So I'm having a feeling that short fuse today, which they call an anomaly, was the car reacting in Bahrain, and they haven't had a good testing so far. At first, I thought it was because they're sandbagging. Now I think that the problem with that car is that it's all performance, but it's very low reliability, especially in hot conditions. In Spain, it was able to do a ton of mileage and everything, but not here. Now let's get back to Norris. Norris I think he hit about 340 something kilometers, so he's right up there close to what Verstappen is. I still think that Red Bull has more straight line speed than McLaren, but McLaren looks fantastic. Now the other news, Kunle should be happy. That Haas is tearing up people's ass up in this joint. Haas looks fantastic. Haas, Oliver Bierman had the third fastest time, 135 point something, and also Haas was second in total mileage after McLaren, or something like 130 laps. So Haas is looking very, very good. And if you look, in the top three, Leclerc had the fastest time, Bierman had the third fastest time, and both cars are reliable. So that shows that Ferrari VF engine is doing its job. I don't think they can still beat the Red Bulls or the McLarens of this world, or even the Mercedes, but Ferrari has a fast car. The question is, what will their aero do and other things? So they're going to be competitive this year, and Leclerc might be able to win some races. So those are the main stories. McLaren, no surprise, the car looks good. Tons of mileage, high speed, beat the other teams faster than the other teams when they were on a full load of fuel during a long run and had harder tires. So that's the first one, like I said. Second of all, Mercedes might just have an engine problem from overheating, and Haas did beautifully. Alonso got 70-something laps today and did 138.9. They're not running to push the car right now. They're just doing aero mapping, doing correlation stuff they should have been doing in Barcelona, so they're far behind. Williams looking good, getting their mileage. Their car is not as fast as the teams in the front because they're a little bit heavier, but the engine looks solid. So you're looking at with the supply, the customers for Mercedes look solid. Williams looks solid. McLaren looks solid. Mercedes looks like they're not integrating their engine as well as the other teams. And once again, it's because of the overheating thing. Now, if you look at McLaren has more outwash than Mercedes does for air. So it's McLaren's car actually has a lot more cooling because of its aero efficiency, whereas Mercedes kept everything tightly wrapped because they're going for pure pace and power. It might have backfired on them. What are your thoughts, Afolabi? Hey, I hit that man a 4-minute soliloquy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It was a very, very good day for McLaren. In fact, McLaren looks very scary at this stage. I mean, it was a masterclass. And I'm not just looking at the leaderboard and talking about the times and the laps. You know, if you look at the suspension geometry, unlike the MCL 39, that was the predecessor to the MCL 40, it uses a push rod system, both in the front and at the rear. So this allowed the car for cleaner airflow from the front to the rear diffuser, you know, and it made the car less sensitive to ride height changes. And I noticed another cornering balance that was in their performance. If you look at their performance, and then the active aerodynamics too, it was a masterclass. Their transitions were seamless. If you look at the actuators they installed, the wing actuators they installed, especially in the X mode, it deployed perfectly without any problems at all. And if you look at the Mercedes AMD power unit, the electrical harvest too was excellent. So it looks as if McLaren is the team to beat now, without a shadow of doubt. And with Lando Norris.
Yeah, I wouldn't jump to that too soon, though, because what you saw with McLaren, they demonstrated that they can do deployment without having any problems of reliability. I agree. And they're hitting fast times. But also, what's his name did the same yesterday. Verstappen did. I would say that McLaren might have a little bit more superiority because they were on hard tires, but Verstappen did it too. So it's too early to say their supremacy, but what it shows is that they're carrying on from last year's excellence. And Red Bull is carrying on from last year's excellence because once Horner went, the last 8 or so races, the RB21 was actually the fastest car the last 6 races of the year. So what I see is that McLaren might have a little slight edge, but Red Bull's there. And we don't want to write out Mercedes too yet. But I think what happened with Mercedes is that they focused too much on engine power, didn't focus on aerodynamics, didn't focus on, especially aerodynamics, like you said, with the push rod and figuring out ways to cool the car. And they might have backed themselves into a trap. What are your thoughts of Mr. Kunle?
What I've seen overall over the last 2 days is I've seen the 3 fastest cars. One being the McLaren, obviously, the Red Bull, and the Ferrari.
Yeah.
The Mercedes, I think there's more to find out. I think they're just having a bad day. They historically haven't been good in warm weather. And as we said before, overheating. They have also overperformed in cold weather. So we also have to look at how the cars are going to react in different environments, especially that Mercedes engine and its perceived unfair advantage and where it becomes more apparent or less apparent. And I think given the fact that Williams are using Mercedes, aren't they?
Yeah, Mercedes, yeah. But they have a different... They've made their car fortified. It's heavy, so they've protected the engine, protected everything. So they've made they've traded in. They have reliability, but less speed. But they can work on that. They can carve the car down later. Go ahead, Kunle. Yeah.
I mean, Williams are not the owners of Mercedes. Mercedes should still be able to figure out those problems that Williams are figuring out by themselves to get more out of the car. So I think that there's a higher potential seeding for Mercedes to claw its way back from what's gone on.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Its only advantage was its engine power. So if it has to claw its way back, where is it going to... It's going to be far behind on aerodynamics. And let's not forget this. I'm going to say this like a mantra, Kunle, because we have to remember this. Just before last year, before the season ended, Red Bull took 150 Mercedes people, and most of them were the power unit. And Andy Cowell went to Aston Martin. So maybe what happens is Mercedes has the hardware, but they lost all of the people who built that car and would know what to do moving forward. Do you see what I'm saying? They lost.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But
they lost their engine guy, Cowell, who went to Aston Martin.
Nice organization.
Yeah,
and they would have made long-term, short-term, and medium-term.
I agree, but here's the thing, Kunle. But here's the thing. It'll be just like imagine Arsenal loses all of its technical staff. Okay, even though in the short term they may be able to come back, and let's say they lose Arteta and they just have the players, they're still going to not win the championship this year if that happens. So if they're losing 150 people who know that engine inside out, and they lose the guy who was the head of the whole power unit and engines, Cowell, and those guys leave, whoever they bring in.
They'll have backup. I'm saying.
Yeah, they'll have backup, but here's the thing. But they'll have backup, but those Kunle, but you can't compare a backup to the original. The backup people are not, because they don't have the same intimacy with the engine. I'm not saying they may be good engineers, but it's just like if, for example, if I can say tomorrow, I call, let's say, I follow Cameron, who does F1 shows. He's better than me in F1 shows. Let me finish my point though. No, if you bring in an outsider, I know how this show runs. I know how the the editing and everything. If tomorrow you bring in Cameron and say run the show, he's going to struggle for weeks. You see what I'm saying? Because he doesn't know this. He doesn't know the system that we use. He doesn't know our methodology. So these backups that they're getting is not is same thing happened with Red Bull. When Red Bull lost all of their people to McLaren, McLaren immediately won, and then Red Bull struggled. This is bust or this is win or lose. Red Bull, this is supposed to be the year that Mercedes wins this year. It's now. And they have a big problem where they've lost 150 engineers. They lost the engine guy, and it appears that their car is overheating. What I'm saying is that when you're going against Verstappen and Red Bull and McLaren and their geniuses, you can't even afford to lose one step. What do you think of Falabi?
Yeah.
So this is the point I'm making. First of all, let's not confuse Mercedes with McLaren and Red Bull. Mercedes operations has not been as good as they have. The past couple of years, since they had their purposing car, they haven't understood their car. They've had overheating. And since Toto Wolff has taken over and the Schumacher legacy and the Rosberg legacy, they haven't been a team which is known for systematic greatness anymore. They had a super fast car with Hamilton, which they relied upon, and they didn't get the ground effects error correctly. They should have been able to win. The last time they won a championship was 1920. I said was 2020. They're not relevant anymore. But they do have the best technology when it comes to engines, which is why they were expected to be number one this year. They weren't expected to be number one because they have great engineers or they have a great system like McLaren. They were expected to be number one because Toto Wolff lobbied for the rules to play to the advantage of what Mercedes has. So I don't see them as an operationally sound team. It's the Toto Wolff superstar team. He didn't handle the issue with George Russell and Hank and Kimi Antonelli. You're in the middle of a season and you're courting Max Verstappen in front of your best driver. Absolute disrespect to his driver. Toto Wolff is all about shares. He's a billionaire, but he's dropping the ball again on research like he did when they had the problem with purposing and everything, and all of a sudden their car fell underneath them. And now he's lost Cowell, who's one of the best engineers in the world and probably the best power unit guy in the world. And he's lost 150 people. And he didn't even think about what the consequences of this compression trick he did, which apparently might be causing overheating. What are your thoughts on Falapi?
Yeah, I quite agree with you for that. And even whatever advantage they have as a engine expert, I think because we're now running almost 50-50 electrical and internal combustion engine, I think the rest must have, closed the tap on them. I don't think they're as formidable as they were in the internal combustion engine era, as they are now. So I think the field is a bit level. And in terms of electrical energy deployment, I think even Toto Wolff has openly admitted that Red Bull is the benchmark for energy deployment. GPS data shows that Red Bull is able to deploy electric power for longer down the streets without clipping. So I feel whatever traditional advantage they have in engine power, they may have lost it this time around.
Yeah.
That power is being deployed evenly.
Yes, the other thing, it's 50-50. So that power that they want to rely on, which is combustion, you can't rob Peter to pay Paul. You still have to do the whole track. They say that Red Bull has a 1 second per lap, a 1 second advantage on the straights over the track, a 1 second advantage over the straights. And we saw what McLaren did today. It looks like McLaren,
and it doesn't run out of battery. The Red Bull doesn't run out of
battery. McLaren is getting close to that type of deployment too, but also they have very good tire preservation. So I'm not saying that all of this may be sandbagging by Mercedes, but the problem is that Mercedes, as usual, they think they can get a shortcut to victory. Oh, we have this engine technology that nobody else has, so let's change the rules away from aerodynamics, because they don't do well in aerodynamics. And to me, you can't be an F1 engineering team if you don't take aerodynamics seriously. It's a big disgrace for your customer teams to have better integration in the engine than you that is giving them and it's because if you look at the car, it's too tightly packed and it doesn't have enough room to breathe. And this thing that they had today was a circuit problem with their car. That smells of electrical problem, but it's part of the heating of the car because it's one organism. So what else were we going to talk about? So that's the thing. So we'll see what happens. We know that Haja only had 70 something miles today, 77 laps, but that's because there was some hydraulics that was leaking. So that's not a big problem. So tomorrow we'll see Haja and Verstappen. So tomorrow everybody will go for the glory runs for 1 lap. It'll be interesting to see what Mercedes does. I hope they're not faking all of this to to sandbag, but I have a feeling they have some problems. So, what are your thoughts, Kuna? I know you had some things you wanted to say about Mercedes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, Mercedes have got their problems, but I just still feel that there's still some bite there. And they're just such a solid team. And I mean, that German influence, I just believe that they're going to be able to plug these problems up better than we're anticipating. Just like Red Bull, although Red Bull had less, didn't have 150 engineers leave, but they still had some senior people leave, and they still bounced back from it mid-season.
Yeah,
And
but
you
here's
know,
the
like,
thing: they bounce back from greatness. Mercedes is.
you
I
have
agree
like
with
a
you, Kuna.
second team, third team, 14, 15.
Kuna,
And so you
Kuna,
have, and each
I
team
agree
has,
with you.
so you always have backups, and then you're also poaching other engineers all the time. So they will be recovering them, and they may have
Yep.
poached about
Here's the
50.
thing, Kool-Aid. Nobody's saying I'm still calling Mercedes the favorite. Okay, what I'm saying is they've taken a heavy blow. And you said that Red Bull bounced back. Red Bull was number one in 2024, and Verstappen came number two 2020. So there was nothing to bounce back. They lost
No,
people and they lost
the
to McLaren,
I'm talking about was last season, where they lost some ground against the McLaren, and then they came back
and they
again.
regained ground. But here's the thing: but they
At the point
regained ground. So
lost
Kool-Aid,
at the
they
point at which
regained.
they lost their
Kool-Aid.
remember when they lost some of their engineers? Who's this
Yeah,
chap?
but here's the difference. Here's the difference. They were number one when they lost those people.
Horner. Horner.
They were number one when they lost Horner, and then they
Yeah.
bounced back to close. But here's the thing: Mercedes was number four. So what are they going to do? Bounce back to number four? No problem. I'll agree with that argument. You see what I'm saying? They'll bounce back to number four. That's the point. And
Yeah, I
I
mean,
even still
nobody's going to say
have
they're
them as
going to
favorite. But
challenge.
see, here's the thing: we're not talking about doing well. We know Mercedes will do well. This is how far the mighty have fallen to the point where people were telling Verstappen to leave last year and join because these guys are going to win hands down. You see what I'm saying, Afolabi?
Yeah,
These guys,
it's
Mercedes
a
is supposed to be.
turn from first, and then the Red Bulls get you, then the McLarens get you, then the Ferraris get you, and you're
Yeah.
now language
So my thing is
fourth,
that
but they're still fourth, I think.
Verstappen is very smart. This is why I like Verstappen. He said, "Wait, let's wait and see." Some other greedy people like Hamilton would have jumped to Mercedes last year. Do you see what I'm saying? Because what if Verstappen jumps to Mercedes now, and then you look back and now Red Bull is doing better? So let's see what happens this year. All I'm saying is that a lot is expected from Mercedes. They already crowned George Russell as drivers' champion before the season has started. So what that means is that even if they come second, it's going to be an embarrassment for them. If they don't win, it's going to be an embarrassment for them. What do you think of Folabi?
Yeah, that's what I feel too. And the way it is, expectations are very high, and the way this season is going, although we can't conclude anything just yet,
Oh, no, no, no,
but
no,
but,
no.
but it's early days. But I feel if you set the pace as a team, you would have an advantage, especially in a season where everybody's trying to have a head start. So if
Yeah.
they don't start off well, it's going to affect them whether or not. Testing are just for
We'll
the
go to
data.
tomorrow.
We can we can
So,
we can we can
so,
actually get a lot of conclusions from the testing.
and you know what? Nobody's talking about the fact that Ford is the real author of Red Bull's engine, and those guys have gotten down that electrical part right. Don't sleep on Ford. Ford engines are doing well, and these things are stable. Very quickly though, because when they talk about your team Haas, they're doing well. Oliver Bierman doing 135, the team getting 130 laps. They're looking good. And they're right there with their sister team Ferrari, which was fastest today. What are your thoughts on Haas?
Yeah, I'm very excited about Haas. They're doing very well. It also shows how good the Ferrari engine is, actually,
Yeah.
because Haas are punching way above their weight. I mean, they were competing in the bottom five, and this has sort of boosted them right in there. Maybe, I mean, potentially
Top five.
between 9 and 13. Now they could get between 9th and 13th if they're able to take full advantage. I mean, that's
Oh,
why
you
I
know,
see
there's 11 teams. So you remember, there's only 11 teams. I think you're thinking about drivers' championship. Yes, I see what you're saying.
the driver will finish 9th and the driver will finish 13th, is what I mean.
Yeah. So that's basically fifth or sixth or seventh as a team on the constructors. Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that. I don't think that they'll be pulling I don't think they're going to be pulling that ass this season.
Yeah,
I
they're
think
gonna
that's
pull that.
right up there.
Hey, look, here's a play on word. Haas is gonna be, Williams, the team. Haas is gonna be pulling that wheelie.
Oh yeah.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Afolabi.
Yeah. So
What are your impact on Haas? What do you think is responsible for the fact that they seem to be doing well? They seem to be fast and have a reliable engine too.
I have a feeling that because of the power unit, first and foremost, and if you look at the timesheets today, data actually suggests that Haas is benefiting from the same improved energy deployment and the ERS system that maps that Ferrari used to beat McLaren to top spots.
Yeah.
I think it's same old same. The VF26 was a workhorse today, really. Finishing P3 was good, 130 laps, roughly 700 kilometers. Which is more than two full race distances. I mean, for a team that has historically struggled with mid-season technical failures, this level of day two reliability is a massive win for them, without a
Yeah,
doubt.
and we have to give it credit because not only the engine, their chassis is good too. Because for them to have that speed, it means that their chassis, they've always had good straight line speed anyway. Where they struggle is on the corner, so we'll see. All right, very good show. Take us out to a nice one there.
Yeah, so we've been able to see Williams and Haas take advantage of some of the parts of the engines belonging to Mercedes and Ferrari, almost as well as the original owners, sometimes better. And we've seen McLaren also rising to the challenge to present itself as a major war. Mercedes flopping a little bit today, but there's still many more things to go. And at this point, we're all theorizing, and it's all theory, but who knows? But till next time, from myself, Mustafa and Afolabi, we bid you goodbye, farewell, adieu. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, nice one. So